Good evening to our first board meeting of the year. Please call the roll.
Mrs. De Silva,
Here.
Mrs. Messick,
Here.
Mrs. McLean,
Here.
Mrs. Seward,
Here.
and Mr. Valentine.
Here. The treasurer will now administer the oath of office for newly elected board members.
We will go one at a time here, and I guess we'll start in alphabetical order. Mrs. De Silva, I'll walk around there and I'll do it. Raise your right hand, please. I state your name. Do solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Ohio, and I will faithfully and impartially discharge my duties as a member of the Board of Education of the Dublin City School District, Franklin, Delaware, and Union Counties to the best of my ability in accordance with the laws now in effect and hereinafter to be enacted during my continuance in said office until my successor is chosen. Congratulations. Oh, for 1 year, all right. That's good. Raise your right hand. I state your name.
Elizabeth McLean,
Do solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Ohio, and I will faithfully and impartially discharge my duties as a member of the Board of Education of Dublin City School District, Franklin, Delaware, and Union Counties to the best of my ability in accordance with the laws now in effect and hereinafter to be enacted during my continuance in said office until my successor is chosen and qualified.
I do.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Tara Seward,
Do solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Ohio, and I will faithfully and impartially discharge my duties as a member of the Board of Education of the Dublin City School District, Franklin, Delaware, and Union Counties to the best of my ability in accordance with the laws now in effect and hereinafter to be enacted during my continuance in said office until my successor is chosen and qualified.
I do.
Congratulations.
All right, if you will join me and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
You guys can go that way.
Good evening, Dr. Marchhausen, Mr. Kern, and Board of Education members, and a very warm welcome to our new members. I'm Rita Schaefer, principal at Eversole Red Middle School. We're proud to have our 8th grade student council reps here to lead the pledge tonight. At Eversole, our student council is the heart of our student voice. They work closely with administration to share ideas, organize impactful service projects, and make school fun by sponsoring events like our annual fall dance and the much-loved Cupcake Wars. We are grateful to our staff advisors, Heidi Clark and Christy Murphy, for their leadership of this group. I'd now like to invite our student council president to introduce herself. The students will introduce themselves, and then we'll lead the pledge.
Hi everyone, my name is Maya Shavayam and I am Eversoul's Student Council President.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
All right, election of Board of Education president for the 26 calendar year will come up next after we approve the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Messick. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. De Silva. Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Messick,
Yes.
Mrs. De Silva,
Yes.
Mrs. McLean,
Yes.
Ms. Seward,
Yes.
and Mr. Valentine.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Election of board president. Is there a nomination for president of the board for the 26 calendar year?
I nominate Amy Messick.
All right. There being no others, is there a motion to close the nominations for president of the board?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. De Silva. I will second that. Call the roll, please.
Mrs. De Silva,
Yes.
Mr. Valentine,
Yes.
Mrs. Messick,
Yes.
Mrs. McLean,
Yes.
and Ms. Seward.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Election of the president of the board, and this will be an election by voice. We'll go ahead and just call the roll on this, Mr. Kern. Yeah, I was going to say. You can go.
Mr. Valentine,
Yes.
Ms. Seward,
Yes.
Mrs. McLean,
Yes.
Mrs. De Silva,
Yes.
and Mrs. Messick.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Congratulations to Mrs. Messick. You're going to do it at the end? Yeah, do it after? Yep. Moving to election of Board of Education Vice President. Is there a motion or a nomination for Vice President?
I would like to nominate Mrs. Tiffany De Silva.
Any additional nominations? There be none. Is there a motion to close the nominations for Vice President?
So moved.
Move by Mrs. Messick. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Seward. Moving to, or call the roll, please.
Mrs. Messick,
Yes.
Ms. Seward,
Yes.
Mrs. McLean,
Yes.
Mrs. De Silva,
Yes.
and Mr. Valentine.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Election of the Vice President. Mr. Kern, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Seward,
Yes.
Mrs. McLean,
Yes.
Mr. Valentine,
Yes.
Mrs. Messick,
Yes.
and Mrs. De Silva.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Congratulations, Mrs. De Silva.
Moving on to organizational procedures. First is establishing meetings for 2026. Special meetings may be called by the president, the treasurer, or any two members of the Board of Education by serving a signed written notice of the time, place, and purpose of the special meeting at least 2 days prior to such meeting in compliance with Section 3313.16 of the Ohio Revised Code. It is recommended to approve the 2026 Board of Education meeting schedule. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. De Silva. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. McLean. Call the roll, please.
Mrs. De Silva,
Yes.
Mrs. McLean,
Yes.
Ms. Seward,
Yes.
Mr. Valentine,
Yes.
and Mrs. Messick.
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. Next is a resolution establishing the service fund. It is recommended that the Board of Education establish a service fund beginning July 1st, 2026, in an amount of up to $6,000 for the fiscal year 2027 to provide for board members' expenses in accordance with Section 3315.15 of the Ohio Revised Code. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. De Silva. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Seward. Please call the roll.
Mrs. De Silva,
Yes.
Ms. Seward,
Yes.
Mrs. McLean,
Yes.
Mr. Valentine,
Yes.
and Mrs. Messick.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Membership in the Ohio School Boards Association. It is recommended that the Board of Education renew its membership in the Ohio School Boards Association, including subscriptions to the annual briefcase and annual school management news. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. De Silva. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Valentine. Please call the roll.
Mrs. De Silva,
Yes.
Mr. Valentine,
Yes.
Mrs. McLean,
Yes.
Ms. Seward,
Yes.
and Mrs. Messick.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Membership in the Legal Assistance Fund. This is approval of a resolution to join the Ohio School Boards Association Legal Assistance Fund. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Seward. Do I have a second? Second by Mrs. De Silva. Please call the roll.
Ms. Seward,
Yes.
Mrs. De Silva,
Yes.
Mrs. McLean,
Yes.
Mr. Valentine,
Yes.
and Mrs. Messick.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. It is recommended by the Treasurer of the Board of Education to appoint a delegate and alternate to represent the district at the Ohio School Board's annual business meeting on November 16th, 2026. I believe our first OSBA delegate is Mrs. De Silva. Do I have anyone that would like to be the alternate? Not now? Okay, so let's, we're good then. Then let's have a motion. Do I have a motion to
Well,
approve?
I think we do have to appoint somebody.
Do I have to appoint?
Yeah. Yes.
Power.
It's kind of like in euchre, if nobody else calls it, it's you.
Oh, okay. I will be the OSBA alternate. So there we go. So do I have a motion to approve Mrs. De Silva as the delegate and Mrs. Messick as the alternate?
I do want to say something, though. It is during
Sure.
the day, just so you know.
It's what?
Starts at 2
It's during the
and
school.
goes until whenever.
So you just have to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as an alternate, you would have to get there to be there at 2. I just want to make sure everyone understands.
Okay.
It's during the school day is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. I'll work it out. We'll figure it out. So, motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Valentine, seconded?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Seward. Please call the roll.
Mr. Valentine?
Yes.
Ms. Seward?
Yes.
Mrs. McLean?
Yes.
Mrs. De Silva?
Yes.
And Mrs. Messick?
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. Okay, it is recommended that the Board of Education, in accordance with Section 3313.26 of the Ohio Revised Code, waive the reading of minutes from previous meetings. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. De Silva. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Valentine. Please call the roll.
Mrs. De Silva?
Yes.
Mr. Valentine?
Yes.
Mrs. McLean?
Yes.
Ms. Seward?
Is this prior minutes?
No.
Oh, okay. Yes.
And Mrs. Messick?
Yes. Motion passes 5-0.
And I'd like to thank everybody for that, because I don't have to read them the whole
Yeah.
meeting minutes before.
Why don't you explain what that was?
Yeah, so
that
you're
it makes
waiving
sense?
the reading of the minutes from previous meetings. Actually, without doing this, I would technically have to, as the secretary of the board, have to read the whole minutes from the previous meeting before we approve them and stuff like that. So this allows not to have to read them in front aloud the whole time. So I really do appreciate that.
Okay. And it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the resolution for adoption of the Department of Education and Workforce Special Education Model Policies and Procedures for the 2026-2027 school year. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. De Silva. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Valentine. Please call the roll.
Mrs. De Silva?
Yes.
Mr. Valentine?
Yes.
Mrs. McLean?
Yes.
Ms. Seward?
Yes.
And Mrs. Messick?
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. Standing authorization for board president to enable the district to process state and federal grant applications in a more timely and expedient manner. It is recommended that the board president be authorized to sign all grant applications which require the president's signature without seeking prior board approval. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. De Silva. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Seward. Please call the roll.
Mrs. De Silva?
Yes.
Ms. Seward?
Yes.
Mrs. McLean?
Yes.
Mr. Valentine?
Yes.
And Mrs. Messick?
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. Standing authorizations for the treasurer. To enable the treasurer to carry out necessary duties involving operations, finances, and purchasing, it is recommended that the Board of Education grant the attached standing authorizations for calendar year 2026. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. De Silva. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. McLean. Please call the roll.
Got a little worried there for a second. Mrs. De Silva?
Yes.
Mrs. McLean?
Yes.
Ms. Seward?
Yes.
Mr. Valentine?
Yes.
And Mrs. Messick?
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Resolution adopting standing authorizations for the superintendent for the calendar year 2026 to enable the superintendent to carry out necessary duties involving operations. It is recommended that the Board of Education grant the attached standing authorizations for calendar year 2026. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. De Silva. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Valentine. Please call the roll.
Mrs. De Silva?
Yes.
Mr. Valentine?
Yes.
Mrs. McLean?
Yes.
Ms. Seward?
Yes.
And Mrs. Messick?
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Do we have anyone taking the health care?
Not that I'm aware of.
So do I need to do that?
Just everyone, no one's taking it, so we'll just vote to say no one's taking it.
Okay.
Just to reiterate, just for the public out there, by law, board members can take the district's group health insurance and vision and dental as well, if they so choose. But if they did, they would have to pay 100% of the premium, and then also subject to all the deductibles and co-insurance that go along with it. So just to let everyone know.
So I just do A then. Yeah. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve monthly group health insurance deductions from board member compensation as a method for board members to purchase health insurance if they enroll in any of the district's health care plans. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Seward. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. De Silva. Please call the roll.
Ms. Seward,
Yes.
Mrs. De Silva,
Yes.
Mrs. McLean,
Yes.
Mr. Valentine,
Yes.
and Mrs. Messick.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Special committee and assignments. Do we have any committee reports?
Yes, I have one quick committee report on Friday, the PTO leadership meeting. Okay. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Oh,
but
this is going through the new
this is,
special.
but we don't approve these.
We don't approve these. My apologies. All right, this is just the new special and committee assignments for the board members for the 2026 year. I'm skipping ahead a year. So nothing on that. Now, approval of regular minutes. Approval of the December 8th, 2025 minutes. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Oh,
Moved by Mr. Valentine, seconded by Mrs. De Silva. Please call the roll.
Mr. Valentine,
Yes.
Mrs. De Silva,
Yes.
Mrs. McLean,
Abstain.
Ms. Seward,
Abstain.
and Mrs. Messick.
Yes. Minutes are passed, 3 with 2 abstentions. Toll's Career and Technical Center update. Mr. Melody is here. If he would like to provide us an update. Okay.
Good evening and Happy New Year. Congratulations to the newly elected board members sworn in tonight, and congratulations, President, Vice President. There we go. Sorry for putting us on mute. So I have the January tolls update. It's also attached in board docs for you for reference. Just a couple of call-outs. The enrollment process for the 26-27 school year is underway. The enrollment deadline is about a week away, at midnight on Martin Luther King Day. Currently, we have over 800 applicants, and that number is growing. We reviewed the applications by program last week at our kickoff board meeting, organizational meeting for the year, and we have high expectations for the year. We plan to send out acceptance letters to the students accepted in their first and second choice programs by mid-February is our goal. The enrollment for the main campus is also attached. There's a full report in there, but we currently are at 1,082 students, and 264 of those are from the Dublin high schools. And also want to send out a congratulations to any students that elected to graduate early if they met their graduation requirements and they could graduate early and then move on to their careers. Senior-only programs for next year, 26-27. We are currently offering 3 new programs, Academy of Business Technology and Financial Leadership, an AI Cloud Automation program, and a Food Systems and Controlled Agriculture program. These are all new programs. We're looking forward to these. And again, these are senior-only programs. So right now, enrollment in some of them is very low because we haven't really even started pushing or advertising the senior-only programs, but some of them already have a number of students enrolled. On January 23rd, coming up, there's an opportunity for a town hall advocacy program with Ohio Senator Blessings. He's a member of the State Education Committee, and you can get an update on workforce development activities happening throughout the state. And then there is pre-registration required for all of that. So if you don't already have an email on that for new board members, let me know and I can make sure you get an invitation for that if you need that. Elite is a new work-based learning program as well that we are offering through Tolles and the home schools. This is a work-based learning program designed for high school students, high school seniors as an alternative to late start and early release. This is an opportunity to get them in the workforce for ideally a paid internship where they can also get credit towards graduation and or athletic eligibility through this program. So that's a new program that we are working hard with our home school districts on. And then finally, on Wednesday, April 22nd, is the tentative date for the School Board Appreciation Dinner, which you will all have invites for. So for the new board members, this is a great opportunity to get out to Tolles, meet some of the students, learn about their programs, and then have a great dinner prepared by the culinary students. And that is the update I have for this evening. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them or follow up with you later.
Thank you, Mr. Miley.
All right, thank you, and again, congratulations.
At this time, I'd like to invite our city manager, Megan O'Callahan, and Molly Steiner to the podium. I'd like to thank Megan for being here. I know what her schedule is, and like to highlight the partnership that we have with the City of Dublin and how that serves to make us an elite school district, to serve an elite community, and our work together is the foundation of that work. So thank you for being here, Megan.
Thank you, and good evening, and Happy New Year to all, and congratulations to all. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening. Dr. Marchhausen, I believe this is the third time today, so our schedules certainly aligned today. Mr. Kern and board members, I appreciate your continued partnership with the city and your shared commitment to the health, the well-being, and success of all of our students, families, and the community at large. Tonight's presentation is intended to provide an update on the Dublin Wellness Alliance, what it is, why it matters, and how it's helping to align efforts across organizations to support the physical, mental, and social well-being of our entire community. The Dublin Wellness Alliance is directly aligned with the city's broader strategic framework and vision of Dublin as being the most sustainable, connected, and resilient global city of choice. Wellness and community connection are foundational to that vision, not only for our residents, but for students, for families, and the workforce of today and also tomorrow. So through the Alliance, what we're doing is we're intentionally connecting health, we're connecting education, we're connecting transportation, safety, and all of our community services to improve the outcomes in a coordinated and a measurable way. At City Council's first meeting of the year, last Monday, they formally adopted its 2026 goals, and fostering community connection and well-being, as you can see circled on the screen, through the Dublin Wellness Alliance and other programs is a key focus of one of their adopted goals for 2026. So this work is grounded in Dublin's Community Health Needs Assessment and Strategic Action Plan, which identified priority areas of focus where continued collaboration can make the greatest impact for the overall community. The Alliance is intended to bring together all of our partners, and you'll see that the list is extremely impressive of those that have contributed to the effort thus far, and those partners include the Dublin City Schools, which is why we're here this evening. We want to move from assessment to action, and that's where we are in the process. We want to have clear objectives, we want to have shared accountability, and measured outcomes. So at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Molly Steiner. She's been leading the Dublin Wellness Alliance from the very beginning. She's been doing a fantastic job, and she's going to walk through the organizational structure of the initiative. She's going to talk about the priority areas that were developed through the steering committee or the advisory committee that's been in place, and also current initiatives in more detail.
Good evening, members of the board, and thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. In 2023, the city began the process of completing a community health needs assessment as part of the goals outlined in the strategic framework. This was a systematic process that engaged the community to identify and analyze community health concerns, prioritize key issues, and plan actions to address unmet challenges. The needs assessment was a holistic evaluation of the city's health and well-being and included stakeholder interviews, focus groups, a representative survey, and a community poll to gather feedback and data. From the assessment, a strategic action plan was developed to guide the work and help improve community health. Here you see a timeline of where we have been, from first working with our consultant, Illuminology, to collecting qualitative and quantitative data, identifying the 4 priority health needs, forming specific work groups for each priority need, and finalizing the strategic action plan. An advisory committee was formed to help guide the Community Health Needs Assessment project and was involved in determining the first 4 health priority areas of focus. The committee was comprised of individuals from the 4 major health systems, public health experts, social service agencies, and community partners. A work group was then formed for each priority area to determine objectives and action steps. These groups were comprised of advisory committee members and community partners. You can see on the next 2 slides, there was active engagement on the advisory committee from various organizations and multiple community partners. As a result of the Community Health Needs Assessment and with the expertise of the advisory committee, 4 health priority areas were identified as areas of focus. These include healthcare navigation, transportation, youth behavioral health, and community connections. As part of these 4 priority areas, there are 9 established objectives and 30 total action steps outlined in the strategic action plan. Once the strategic action plan was finalized, the initiative was rebranded and has officially moved forward as the Dublin Wellness Alliance, a name selected by the advisory committee. The Alliance brings together all of the partner organizations, city leaders, and residents working collaboratively on the health priority needs outlined in the strategic plan. This is a community-wide initiative supported by the city, with Alliance members helping to drive the work. This is a snapshot of the Dublin Wellness Alliance website, which is the main source of information. Content is continually being added as work progresses on the 4 priority needs. Here you see the Healthcare Navigation Work Group members and the organizations they represent. 3 objectives were determined are included in the plan. As part of our city agreement with Sentaro, we will be utilizing an existing staff member to serve in the community health worker support role. In addition, we are working in collaboration with the city's IT and GIS department and the communications and marketing teams to create a GIS map and a new resident resource showing locations of key healthcare and wellness resources. The transportation work group members are listed here, along with the organizations that they represent. City staff recently met with 7 of the 8 senior living facilities in Dublin to promote the Dublin Connector services to residents and staff. The services are being also promoted in the monthly Dublin Community Rec Center adult and senior newsletters, in the Economic Development newsletter, and to employers identified by the Economic Development team that could benefit most from the service. In addition, outreach about the connector was conducted at 2 Dublin Market events and 15 Mobility Concierge Summer Series events to promote its services. This shows an overview of the members of the Youth Behavioral Health Work Group and the organizations they represent. The city is currently working with an outside marketing firm to create a parent-focused educational campaign called Dublin Families Talk, Listen, Learn. This is being done in partnership with the AT Coalition, Nationwide Children's Hospital, and the Kids Mental Health Foundation. This campaign addresses concerns around teen substance misuse and mental health. Parents said they want guidance, clarity, and simple ways to start conversations, but struggle with knowing what their kids are facing and what to say. The campaign includes a social media video series, a flipbook resource guide, centralized information on the Dublin Wellness Alliance website, and direct partner resource links for immediate support. And finally, you'll see here the members of the Community Connections Work Group. This group has been working on 3 main objectives. The first objective is to develop a deeper understanding of why non-connected people feel that way and how to communicate with them more effectively. Dublin Good Neighbor Week was recognized for 10 days from September 18th through 28th. This coincided with the National Day that is observed annually on September 28th. Activities included a donation drive for the Dublin Food Pantry and One Dublin, an opportunity for neighbors to nominate good neighbors for recognition and outstanding service, and a Community Connections Challenge to encourage neighborly acts of kindness. In addition, city staff members have organized 20 gatherings this year to provide residents with opportunities to connect and engage, and will continue to do so in 2026. These include things like MLK Sunday Supper, Senior Buddy gatherings, Juneteenth Open House, Community Service Day, and volunteer team gatherings. That is a lot of information. I'm happy to answer any questions before we move on.
We're both here to answer any questions. But as we conclude, I just want to emphasize how important the partnership has been. This, as you can see, this is a lofty goal. There is a lot of work to be done. This initiative is intended to be long-lasting because the collaboration amongst all of the partners is key. So appreciate Dublin City Schools' participation thus far, the staff that have been involved, both at the advisory level as well as on the work groups, has been invaluable to date, and it will continue to be invaluable moving forward, and it's extremely important that that partnership continue for the success of the Dublin Wellness Alliance in the future. So in recognition of that collaboration and the significance of this effort, we would like to invite the board to designate a representative to serve on the steering committee moving forward. It's anticipated that there will be 2 meetings a year, so not a huge time commitment. And the discussion's all going to be about strategy, alignment of resources, coordination of efforts across all of our partner organizations, because it's important that we all have awareness of what one another are doing and identify areas where we can collaborate. So that will be the primary role of the steering committee. So if the board would be so inclined, we would appreciate having a representative.
I'd like to do that, if everybody's okay with that. It's wellness, so I'd be interested if anybody else is.
You got it.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, appreciate that. And Dr. Marchhausen, you're invited to serve as well. Good. Okay. Well, thank you very much for having us. And if you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to either Molly or I. Have a good meeting.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Moving on to public participation. We have 3 people that have signed up for public participation. You'll get 3 minutes each. First is Rachel Cleary.
Hi, everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Rachel, and I have 4 kids, a freshman at Kaufman, a 7th grader at Grizel, and 2 little boys slated to go to Bailey. I appreciate you giving me the time today to speak again. I first wanted to speak to the Scioto community. I just wanted to say that I have been appalled at some of the things that have been said about Scioto during this redistricting process. The mess. The way Scioto has been talked about has been reprehensible, often using coded language that is clearly racist, xenophobic, or both. I'm sorry that you've had to hear that, and it makes my heart hurt that your kids have had to hear it too, truly. I hope you believe me when I say that not all of us feel that way, and we're all doing our best as parents to try to use this whole situation as a learning opportunity to talk to our kids about being kind, no matter what. Scioto is a great school, and in my private conversations with other parents, people really believe that. As we've all heard, it has access to the same resources as the other schools in the district, and I have complete faith that if my kids went to that school, they would receive a great education. The culture of the school sounds amazing, and I would love it if my kids were able to be part of a culture as strong as Irish Nation, truly. That being said, I'm hopeful that we can all be open-hearted about the concerns of all the community members, including my neighbors in Bristol Commons. Moving this neighborhood to Scioto would be incredibly disruptive to our families and kids, and I briefly want to give 2 examples from my own family. My son is a freshman at Kaufman who is a member of the marching band. As many of you know, marching band at Kaufman is a thing. It's a big commitment. He had near daily practices from the third week of July through the end of the Kaufman football season, which was a very early exit this year. His daily summer practices were all from 8:30 to 12:30. As a household with 2 full-time working parents, I literally don't know how he would have made that work if he weren't able to ride his bike. In order to get to Kaufman, he rides to the end of the neighborhood, goes under the tunnel to Earlington Park, and then rides through the neighborhoods until he has to cross Kaufman Road at the high school. He has a single major road crossing to get there. He can actually leave our house later on days he rides his bike than he does when he rides the bus. I lay in bed at night worried about how we'd manage this if he were moved to Scioto, where realistically, he can't ride his bike. Prior to the redistricting pause, I at least knew that he would stay at Kaufman, but know that now that guarantee has been taken away. The second example is my 7th grade daughter at Grizel. When the middle schools were redistricted, she lost her best friend to Carr. Even if she stays at Kaufman, she'll lose another friend to Jerome when they start high school. Depending on how all this shakes out, she and her sole remaining best friend could be split again, effectively blowing up her friend group over the course of just a couple of years. Middle school is already incredibly difficult, especially for girls. Many of these kids have already been affected by losing friends to the recent middle school redistricting and are doing their best to cling to their friendships that remain. These kids aren't just desks to be filled, they're children who have already been beaten up quite a bit with redistricting. As a society, we talk all the time about the mental health crises of teens who can't form solid relationships with each other. Boys and men are in crisis and adrift due to the lack of strong relationships. As parents, we need to do better. Please let the kids stay where they are and finish at their buildings wherever possible. Please stop beating up on these Bristol Commons kids and families. Thanks.
Thank you. Tracy Borkwin.
Good evening. I'm Tracy Berkwin. Welcome, everyone. I want to talk about the Dublin Schools All-In Unity campaign in regards to redistricting and unity. Although often compared to Olentangy, our district's very different. We have a much more diverse population. Personally, I love that each building's unique and nearly anyone can find a school that shares the values they have and find a place where they feel they fit in. Many families pick DCS just for this reason. I support a campaign that celebrates diversity while encouraging unity. As we move back into redistricting discussions, I urge you to keep the goal of unity in mind. As you gather feedback, you need to understand the original criteria was set by an entire community who was unified on the goals because every single family at that time knew their student could be moved. Nearly every family, regardless of background or location, valued proximity, transportation, feeder patterns, continuity, and the other criteria because it's logical to want your student to go to school near home with friends who live nearby and not be torn apart from them as you move from elementary to middle to high school. Comparing us to Olentangy, you can see their maps demonstrate these same desires. My concern is this time things are very different. 2/3, or at least more than half of the district, knows it will not be moved because of where they are. There are no plans to move most of Scioto, Jerome, or even parts of Kaufman, and innately people know that even if they say transportation, for example, does not matter, the district will not move them. Some representatives in the district have even stated as much. The questions you need to ask are not does transportation, proximity, feeder patterns, etc. matter, but would you want your child to move to a building that is far away or face feeder patterns that split them from most of their friends again and again? Sadly, empathy is in short supply these days. You need to create questions that will force people to truly be honest about what they value if it were their child moving. And I propose, if you have a group that does not value these same criteria, you move them to meet your goals, since they will have no objection. The same should apply to the question of if students who start in a building should be allowed to finish. You need to ask, do you support moving your student from his current high school and not letting him finish? People are all too willing to support something that does not affect them to get what they themselves want, even if in their hearts they would not want the same for their family. I can tell you, regardless of what people vote for, no one envies the position of my neighborhood, Bristol Commons, which has been impacted repeatedly by redistricting and could face multiple feeder patterns, splits, and be sent to a school that takes them 3 times as long to get to. How you are asking the questions matters, and who is answering them. You will not get honest replies if people know they are safe from being moved and only want to push their personal agendas. I'm so worried that as you gather feedback, biases that are based on selfish motivations more than logic and compassion will prevail. If that happens, there's no doubt in my mind you will have created a gaping split in community unity, and your all-in campaign, as well as any future levies, sadly, will be doomed. Thank you.
Thank you. Ishraq Alim. My apologies if I mispronounced that.
It was perfect, thank you. Yeah, I'm Ishraq. I'm a parent of a DCS student. Actually wanted to ask 2 questions to the board or superintendent, but first some context. In December, there was reports of immigration, customs, and enforcement operation at a major intersection near a DCS school. Since then, media has reported that one of the individuals apprehended was a DCS student, a parent of a DCS student. Obviously, DCS has no control over what happens off campus. My 2 questions are, first, what is DCS's policy about ICE or federal agents running operations on campus? And second is what are measures that DCS can take to ensure student safety, especially considering many students do not carry government-issued ID, and many students have expressed opposition to ICE operations on campus through protest and civil disobedience. Thank you.
During this time, we don't typically answer questions.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, that's fine.
I thought you did.
Would you like to, or it's up to Dr. Marshausen if he wants to respond.
We issued a statement earlier that outlined our process when working with any visitors to school property. Our board policy outlines what happens if visitors come to school property, go to the office. There's a process from there, and that's how we would treat any official from any outside organization. And the policy is clear, and we shared that with the community in a back-to-school letter that was sent Monday before all of the students returned to school.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And that ends public participation. Now, Board of Education committees.
Oh, okay. So again, I have one. The PTO leadership meeting met on Wednesday of last week, and Dr. Marshausen shared brief updates regarding topics that have been brought up already, but topics that we will be discussing more in depth during the upcoming board retreat, which include the redistricting process and the timeline going forward, the district's finances and enrollment challenges, and he also discussed the recent student protest at Scioto High School and the communication on December 19th and January 5th. And much of the group discussion that day centered on how focus groups will be created and used during the redistricting process and how the district communicates in various crisis situations. I think that each of these topics are important for the board to discuss in depth in the future.
Thank you. I have one from Key Communicators, which focused on the situation near Scioto, as well as the walkout that was performed by students. And Cassie shared information on what happened on the 19th of December, as well as the decisions of the district as to how to handle what happened. As well as information on the walkout of 20 to 30 students, and that led into a dialogue with district leaders that there will be a follow-up with those student leaders this week. She did explain that the student that was impacted, whose parent was taken by ICE, that the school and district has been providing support and checking in with them over break and making sure that they are moving forward with schooling. So we're grateful for that. Anything?
I'll just add also, since it's been a while, the policy committee is meeting on January 20th to go over a batch of policies. It's pretty large. So be on the lookout for those.
And on to our student representative, Noah.
Good evening, board. Here's your update on what's going around the schools. All the schools' scheduling is underway across the high schools. The Dublin top new tutors are being prepped to tutor elementary students. At Kaufman, the drama club is presenting Shakespeare's Comedy of Errors. Parent-teacher conferences are next week on the 22nd, and along with that, on the 22nd is also 8th grade parent night. CAP, a mentor program with seniors and freshmen, is going to classrooms and speaking to rising seniors about the opportunity to mentor freshmen, and it strengthens relationships with underclassmen and enhances leadership skills around Jerome. Also at Jerome, along with this, incoming 9th grade curriculum night and club fair is coming up. At Scioto, AP Studies students are working on building the annual immersive experience. This year's topic is women's suffrage, to play into the theater's presentation of SUFs starting January 23rd. The immersive experience allows elementary students across Dublin to complete hands-on activities to learn about women's suffrage. Scioto also recently hosted their annual veterans basketball game, in which veterans around the community were invited to have dinner, talk to students, and were recognized before the start of the game. Here at Emerald Campus is having an open house on Thursday, January 15th. This will be a great chance for students, for current sophomores, to explore any EC options they found interesting during their tour, and anyone else can join to check out what Emerald offers. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to reports and action items from the superintendent's office, Dr. Marshausen.
Well, first of all, I would like to take a moment to thank all of our board members for your service. It is School Board Recognition Month, and I think it is wonderful that OSBA used the same logo and approach that we did in the Dublin City Schools for Embrace the Journey. We are definitely leading the way as OSBA is copying us statewide, scaling new heights in the work that we do in public education across the state of Ohio. And in the state of Ohio, we couldn't do what we do without the board members here in Dublin and your colleagues across the state. And we know it's often a thankless job, and we are grateful for your leadership and the work that we get to do together. One of the challenges that we're facing, and I know Jen's probably going to have a hard time keeping quiet right now, recent state law, House Bill 114, unbeknownst to us, and it kind of was slipped into one of these last-minute bills, changes when kindergartners can start kindergarten. And in the past, local school districts have had the option as to when kindergartners would enroll. And the new law says that you must enroll someone who is 5 by the first day of school. That changes our traditional September 30th. It also is a moving target because the first day of school differs district to district and year to year. And this is a tremendous economic and social impact on parents. I believe we have 17 preschool students in our current preschool who now can't go to kindergarten next year because the dates moved up. And those are parents who are counting on all-day kindergarten and not having to make those decisions about childcare and preschool and those things for next year. In a recent meeting that I had with some state officials, I've asked if there's any grace or phase-in that can be used for this, and we'll be looking at some potential guidance from the Department of Education and Workforce that may provide some assistance in this area. And we'll need our parents to know this wasn't our decision. So if you are one of those parents who are in that window, this was a law that was passed with a bunch of other education-related bills that really didn't have the opportunity to go through the full vetting process with hearings, because we could also have parents who may look at a Fairbanks or a JA or a district that has open enrollment, or send their child to a parochial school to get into the kindergarten because it would probably be less expensive than daycare. And then we'll get the kids back in first grade anyway, but without having the benefit of a Dublin education, where it is really beneficial for us and our students when our students start in our preschool and start with our teachers and our instruction, and we're able to monitor that. So just putting that on your radar. If there are constituents who contact you about the first day of kindergarten, it's House Bill 114. It's not a decision that we made at the local level. As I've had the opportunity to talk with many of you individually, and I've talked with several of our groups over the past several weeks, 2 weeks from today, on January 26th, we'll be having a board retreat. The first part of that retreat will be working with the board, and it will be a facilitated discussion to lay out what the board's principles are for the redistricting process. And as we work through that process as a team, Jamie Green and the team from Planning Next will be here. They're working with Julie Martin, our legal counsel, to facilitate that discussion with the 5 board members and our executive team to look at what are the criteria, what are the timelines, and what are the other factors. Meeting with Planning Next, and we met this afternoon to look at how does that then lead to the focus groups? How does that then lead to the scientific survey using Paul Fallon? How do we get that data back, process that data, which will then lead to community meetings and open community input, and then we'll get that information back. And as we've looked through different processes and reflected on what went well and what didn't go well in our work last fall, and we've said it was a learning experience, one of the things that I think we'll be able to do is to look at some of our neighbors and how do they handle this process and what does that look like. So that will be the first part of the work session retreat on the 26th. We'll break for dinner. And then the second part of that will be Mr. Kern and I leading us through the 5-year forecast review. What does that mean from a staffing perspective? As we've talked, and we've worked very closely with Mrs. O'Connor and DEA, and we are grateful for the responsible staffing plan and how that saved us millions of dollars per year over the past 3 years. We may not have been as efficient as we could have been in 2023, but we've pretty much squeezed all the juice we're going to get out of the responsible staffing plan. So as we look at financial decisions moving forward, we're beyond efficiency, and now we have to start talking about class sizes and class offerings and what the next levy request will look like from our community. So that will be the second half of that retreat on the 26th. That retreat will be in this space. We will be set up so we can talk, but it is something that is open to the public to watch that retreat from the beginning to the end, and there will be a break for dinner as part of that. So I anticipate that probably 3:30 to 8:30-ish with a break for dinner as we go through that process. And then Cassie has some exciting things to share about tools that we're piloting right now. We talk about communication and we talk about how we engage with families. Her team's been working with Mr. Andrus and his team and other folks. So if Mrs. Dietrich, you can share some of this information.
Sure. So today, Dublin City Schools uses School Messenger as our district-supported platform for communication. It is a one-way broadcast system, so it is a way for us to reach everyone, but it does not necessarily provide a way in which people can reach us or reach out to their classroom-level teachers directly. So while it works well for mass notifications, it has limited capabilities beyond that. Because of those limitations, our teachers, staff, and coaches, or extracurricular advisors, have had autonomy to choose their own two-way tools. The result of that autonomy, while it works for some, has resulted in a patchwork system for our families and results in parents having to use multiple apps depending on the school, classroom, or activity they are needing to communicate about or from. So our goal as part of Journey 2030 this year with the communications team was to identify and onboard a district-wide two-way communication system with required adoption across the district. As you can imagine, that is a lot of changes for classroom level teachers and a very large undertaking with 1,400 teachers and 3,000 staff who are using it. So our goal is to make communication simpler and more consistent for our families, but also find a product that will allow us to have stronger, more targeted professional development for our staff. So we're not just looking at the product, but we're also looking at resources around that will help us with professional development for our teachers on how they communicate and how they engage with our families and best practices for doing so that we can really drive home and connect with those families the messaging. We're also trying to make sure we ensure clear expectations and support across schools and programs. The American Act for Disabilities updated their policies for digital accessibility, which is how someone who, when you think about individuals who are colorblind, who need to use a screen reader because they cannot see the screen that they're looking at, and how they access that information. Starting in 2027, we are going to have to be compliant with some new rules regarding digital accessibility. And so the other thing that we're doing with this is making sure that we are prepared and ready for those changes when our deadline, if you will, of April 2027 comes around. So Tara, our new communication specialist that we onboarded over the summer, she is taking PD right now to get trained up on that so that she can be the person in the district that can answer questions about digital accessibility. And when we talk about digital accessibility, it's not just our website, it's also our learning management systems, it's everything that the teachers are using in the classroom, anything. So we have to make sure that we can comply so that those individuals can access the information we're providing to them. So in trying to do these, to accomplish these objectives, we are currently evaluating two tools in the district. We started at the beginning of this school year with a pilot of one product called Parent Square at Bishop Elementary. They were an ideal candidate for a pilot because they were a new school that was opening, so they did not have an established process there already. And then we are evaluating talking points at Wright Elementary. Their principal was very excited to try to be part of a pilot and look at something. Wright has a very high English learner population in their building, and so they are challenged by the limited capabilities of School Messenger. It doesn't really have robust translation features. It's limited in its text message capability, and we're finding that a lot of our English learner families would prefer text messages over email. And so we piloted talking points at Wright. They piloted both those products for the first semester. On the workday on January 5th, we did a survey with the staff at both Wright and Bishop, separate surveys, with the same questions so that we could compare that survey data and so that we could hear from the teachers. Obviously, it would be really challenging to put everybody at every building in a room and get their feedback. So our goal was to really capture what the teacher's experience was with using the tool. Did they find it friendly? Did they find that the support was there when they needed it? And then how they felt their parents responded to the tool. We also looked at does the tool improve their ability for work-life balance, because both of these products do allow teachers to set office hours so that when a parent sends a teacher a message, say at 8:30 at night, they'll get an automated response that says the teacher is not currently working, but she will get back to you the next morning. And so we were also cognizant of the fact that sometimes you can be too connected, and we didn't want that either. So we're really trying to make sure we find the balance in prioritizing user friendliness, something that's equipped with robust translation, something that's supported by timely customer service, and then as my tech friend, Mrs. Ram, is always reminding me, something that also is reliable and has the server capacity to handle a district of our size, because that is something else that we have to consider, is when we are sending messages, we are sending it to a large volume of contacts, and so when you get those no school calls, if the system were to go down, that becomes problematic for us. So their runtime on calls and messages and their ability to turn around and provide support if something were to happen is incredibly important to us in a district of our size, because we cannot go back to the old phone tree model here. So We are now at the point where we are going to start next week. We have a small cross-functional task force that we have identified that will meet twice in January to evaluate and plan next steps. For the first meeting, they're going to focus on the survey data from the 2 pilot buildings. They're going to watch a short teacher video demo from each building. So we identified a teacher at both Wright and Bishop who are going to do a Screencastify video so that the people that are were on this task force can see the teacher view or the teacher lens of the product and walk through with them what it looks like on their end. And then Mr. Bauer, the principal at Bishop, and Mrs. Alloway, the principal at Wright, are also going to do an in-person demo with them what it looks like as a building principal, because the way in which they will use these tools will be different. Our building principals and our administrators are usually more on the broadcast and newsletter end of communication, where our teachers are doing one-to-one, RSVPs, parent-teacher conference signups, things like that. So we want to see what the different capabilities are of the product. And then they will review proposals from each of the companies and evaluate the costs. Obviously, that's another factor, is financial, how much the product will cost us, what kind of a contract do we have to sign, what kind of deals we can get. If I have to, I'll bring Mr. Stark in to play the heavy, and we'll go from there. So, and then meeting 2, our meeting 2 focus will be on implementation, training, and rollout. So one of the things is it's not just about the product we buy, it's about how we get buy-in for the product that we are bringing to the table and how we roll out and train staff. And so recognizing that we have a large population of staff here and that we will need everybody to be fully trained and prepared to use the selected tool before the start of the 26-27 school year, we're going to talk about what that looks like, who the players are that are involved, what that communication process looks like for telling them that this is a required adoption within the district. And then bottom line, our goal is just consistency, access for families, and then hopefully improving transparency and trust, which is what comes along with making sure people are receiving the messages we're sending out. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
I have a question. You mentioned that starting in 2027, we have to be compliant with new rules in regards to digital communication and accessibility. Where are those rules coming from, and what are they, briefly?
I'm going to do my best, because like I said, Tara's training to be the expert. So the American Disabilities Act has requirements for digital accessibility. They always have, and they phased them. It was what was called Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, WCAGs. There was 1.0, and there was 2.0, and now we're on 2.2. So they continually update them. They had not updated them for several years, and they were behind in making sure that there were compliance rules around mobile accessibility. So you're going to see a lot more of having to make sure that things are mobile friendly when they're on a mobile screen. But the other thing is PDFs. So when we upload documents, if you can imagine for a minute, when you scan, like if I took this and I scanned it in, that doesn't necessarily mean that a screen reader can read it. It actually has to have text recognition within it. And so they are now saying that you must do that. Before, it was best practice to do that. And obviously, when we were communicating with people, our goal was always to do that, but now it's a must. So if we have PDFs on our website that are scanned and are not what we call OCR compliant, and they don't have text recognition within them, we are out of compliance with the new rules. So they've updated them as technology has changed and moved forward. And that's just one example. There's some new color changes, color contrast changes. The example I use with my team is if you wrote something on the web and you said, see the box in red. Well, someone who has a color blindness or a visual disability, they may not see the box in red, and so now they don't know what box you're referring to. So it actually is very tricky, and there's a lot of, like I said, that's why Tara's actually taking classes and is part of a cohort to educate herself on what we need to be in compliance. Fortunately for us, we have a long runway to get into compliance, and we're, aside from the Community Engagement Task Force Committee, we also have another group, Mrs. Ram, Mrs. Parker-Jones, myself, Tara, and Christy Stuber, who is she works with students with accessibility issues, ensuring that their Chromebooks have the accessibility tools that they note on them so that they can read. So we're meeting as a smaller mini task force to figure out what does this look like. And we actually talked last week in our executive leadership meeting about the need for doing PD with teachers when they come back to school in August around this, so that they can make sure that they're compliant when they're scanning things in or putting things on the website, things like that.
Thank you.
I just had a question also. So I know that you had mentioned they're going to meet twice in January, correct? So are we for sure going to take either one of these based on the survey results, or is there maybe in that second meeting, you're looking at the cost evaluation and then looking at the survey and saying, if there's already, are you reaching people that you haven't been reaching, I guess, as far as parents? Or are these the same parents that have already been, reaching out to the teachers? Or I'm assuming you're trying to target more parents that maybe you haven't targeted.
Yeah.
Currently.
So both programs have reporting and analytics that we're looking at. So we can see how many parents opened, how many parents clicked, how many parents read the message. We can compare that to School Messenger. So I could take the same parent last year if I had a Wright Elementary parent, and I could go back and I could look at the communications that we sent in the 24-25 school year to that parent, and then I can pull what Julie or Mrs. Alloway sent in the first semester, and I can actually compare, did the engagement score of that individual parent increase or decrease? So we are looking at not necessarily on an individual level, but we are looking at it as a school level. Did the engagement rates, did the read rates, the click rates, did those things change when we added talking points or Parent Square? As to how we got to these two, because there are many platforms out there, our neighbors to the west and to the east, both ways, I guess, Hilliard and Olentangy just went through an extensive RFP process to determine which product they were going to use. And they ran demos, and they, like I said, they had a request for proposals. They went through a bid process. Both Hilliard and Olentangy ended up with Parent Square. So when I talked to Mrs. Ram and we discussed it, we decided there wasn't a desire to do something much different than what other Central Ohio school districts are doing. And so we looked at what our other Central Ohio school districts are using, and there was definitely a consensus around the 270 Outer Belt that it was either Parent Square or Talking Points. Licking Heights uses Talking Points. There's another district on the south end of the 270 Outer Belt that's using Talking Points. So I'm in connection with them as well. So we are admittedly a little bit behind our other districts in adopting a tool like this, but it actually, I'm seeing positives of being a little bit behind because they have done their own onboarding and they have worked out a lot of the quirks, things that we may or may not run into, like how do you add a step parent when you already have two parents in a household? How do we get our coaches in there when they don't have a DCS employee ID because they're a contractual or supplemental employee? So I have been blessed with the fact that I'm connected with colleagues in all those areas who are kind of feeding me the things that I need to watch out for depending on which of these products we onboard. So that's kind of, it is definitely going to be one of these two. We kind of did a small group with demos about a year ago and identified that these were the two that we wanted to move forward in the pilot. We'll make a decision after we meet with the task force, and then our goal, we're actually meeting this week to talk about a timeline for implementation, but our goal will be to start bringing the product in from an administrative standpoint with my team and Mrs. Ram's team to start setting up student information and all that kind of stuff after spring break.
Thank you. Sorry, just one more question, though. Is there going to be a requirement at all for the teachers to then use the tool a certain amount of times, or is it just whenever they feel that they need to reach out to a student? And is this in addition to the School Messenger then? How is that going to work?
Nope, School Messenger will go away. So this will be a
Okay.
complete replacement of School Messenger. It will also replace SMORE. If any of us have ever heard of us talk about the newsletters that we send, so the Friday newsletters that the buildings send, they use a product called SMORE to create those newsletters. This would replace that as well. So it would be a completely comprehensive product, and it would take over a lot of what we're using individual products for as well. Each product also has some other capabilities that has other modules that we can add, and if we find that we want to add some of those, obviously we could expand our use of those products. They have like fees, There's Student Square, which is where we could actually put high school students who are in clubs in there and communicate, coaches could communicate directly to student athletes or to club members. So we've got to talk about that's part of the task force, is to talk about what are the features of the product that we would want and that we're willing to pay for. As you guys know, every time you add a feature, the cost goes up. Does that kind of help?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you.
Thank you. And now reports and action items from the Treasurer's Office. Mr. Kern?
Yeah, just a few things on the agenda. And speaking about our next at a retreat meeting, we'll be utilizing most likely data from the October 5-year forecast that was approved by the board at that time for kind of our discussion at that point. But a reminder, we do have an update due by end of February that has to be done. And the next one will be due at the end of August after that, from that situation, which, remember, changes our time frame from November. We used to be November and May, and now it's going to be February and August. So some discussion that's been around Central Ohio, or at least some district treasurers that I know, is do we do another one in May like we did before, to kind of give an update on with what we know after tax collections, because first half tax collections, we'll be doing an approval of a 5-year forecast, and in Franklin County, for example, the bills aren't due till the end of, actually March 2nd, I believe, is the due date. So we want to have it all collections in to know how we are doing revenue-wise from that standpoint. So something to keep in mind, but just to let you know as we move into our next board meeting with that. As far as items on the agenda tonight, we have some donations. We have one transfer for our annual transfer for our summer school to cover deficits in that fund. We do have approval of the 2027 alternative tax budget. As I mentioned some of this stuff in my Friday update there, tax budget it's a statutory requirement that has taken on more meaning with recent state legislation, especially with Budget Commission's ability to affect tax rates and for their operating levies and how they go forward. So that's why even more as we prepare this, knowing that in mind, to make sure we have everything I's dotted, T's crossed. The information you see for the general fund, for example, is based off our October 5-year forecast numbers. The appropriations change is we got reallocations for our reallocations of previously unspent funds for our federal funds that we have since approved in here to appropriate and be able to use and spend. And then finally, we have our December financial report. As you can see from the general fund perspective, we are in line with estimates at this point in the year. So if there's any questions.
If there are no questions, then it is recommended by the Treasurer that the Board of Education approve items 16B through 16F. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. De Silva. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Valentine. Please call the roll.
Mrs. De Silva?
Yes.
Mr. Valentine?
Yes.
Mrs. McLean?
Yes.
Ms. Seward?
Yes.
And Mrs. Messick?
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. Reports from the Department of Academics and Student Learning.
There are no reports this evening.
Thank you. Reports from the Department of Operations.
Good evening. We only have about 3 items for your review and approval tonight. The first one is for our 2026 asphalt replacement. We do public bids on these, and the lowest responsible bid was from Brex Paving for a contract worth approximately $554,000. And this will do some paving work at Depp, Preschool, Bailey, Sells, Hopewell, Davis, and Transportation. In addition to this, which has already been approved as part of the SIOTA addition work, we're also going to be doing their back parking lot and walkways. That'll be all of our asphalt for this coming year. The next item is we have a number of roofs that we're focusing on this year. These are the last 2 public bids. The others were done last fall. This is for Thomas Elementary. These roofs are very, very large. There's multiple roofs on each one of these. So Thomas and Wright, we're going to be probably publicly bidding them again later this year. for the next half. This is only for about 50% of the roofs. Thomas's roof, the lowest responsible bidder was Bill Jackson Roofing for a contract worth approximately $664,000. For all of these, we're asking for small contingency amounts, and this allows us to address unexpected construction issues as they come up. And the last one is Wright Elementary to begin their roof. That contract is for about $1.2 million, and with a construction contingency, and we're recommending RBT Roofing. All of these people we're recommending tonight was the lowest responsible bidder from our public bids. If there's any questions.
If there are no questions, it is recommended by the superintendent that the Board of Education approve items 19A through 19C. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. De Silva. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Seward. Please call the roll.
Mrs. De Silva?
Yes.
Ms. Seward?
Yes.
Mrs. McLean?
Yes.
Mr. Valentine?
Yes.
And Mrs. Messick?
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. Reports from Human Resources.
Good evening, members of the board. I will start tonight on the certified agenda. You'll see we have one certified resignation along with one retirement. Allison Coho will retire with 34 years in Dublin City Schools. You'll see a new hire, and this is for a student communications intern to work with Ms. Dietrich and her staff in the communications area. There's a substitute nurse that's being recommended, and these individuals work on an as-needed basis in Dublin. We typically have 6-period pay requests that are clustered at the beginning of the semesters, and tonight we just have a single request for one, and this is for the upcoming current semester. 2 leave of absence requests for next school year are on for your approval. And then the supplementals and pupil activity permits that are on tonight are primarily for spring athletics. And then you'll see a request to approve a list of ski club chaperones and substitutes for this ski season. Moving on to our classified agenda, you'll see one retirement on tonight, along with 5 resignations and a termination of employment during the probationary period. Pamela Eager will retire from the Transportation Department with 9 years in our district. There are also 7 new hires, and then the rest of the agenda covers salary changes and unpaid leave requests as well. Moving on to the stipends, you'll see 4 of them on tonight. The first 2 are revisions to previously board-approved stipends, and these are due to staff changes. The total amounts have not changed. The third stipend is for extended school year preparation, which we do annually, and it serves as a way to provide special education and related services beyond the traditional school year. And then the final stipend is for the 2026 summer school preparation that's underway. Like ESY, there is a significant amount of planning and prep that occurs to get ready for this programming as well. And that concludes the HR portion of tonight's agenda.
If there are no questions, it is recommended by the superintendent that the Board of Education approve items 21A through 21C. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. De Silva. A second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Valentine. Please call the roll.
Mrs. De Silva?
Yes.
Mr. Valentine?
Yes.
Mrs. McLean?
Yes.
Ms. Seward?
Yes.
And Mrs. Messick?
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. And move to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. De Silva.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Seward. Please call the roll.
Mrs. De Silva?
Yes.
Ms. Seward?
Yes.
Mrs. McLean?
Yes.
Mr. Valentine?
Yes.
And Mrs. Messick?
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. We are adjourned.